I'm Timothy Vigil, and this is Just Another Word, the word podcast for storytellers. Episode 45, Austere. Stern and cold in appearance or manner, somber, grave, morally strict, or markedly simple or unadorned. In a world that often demands more color, more noise, more emotion, more stuff, there's a profound power in the character who chooses less. Today, we're going to look at the granite faces, the empty rooms, the intentionally less. Today's word is austere. The word austere comes from the Greek austeros, meaning harsh, dry, or bitter. It was originally used as a word to describe the taste of wine that puckered the mouth, but was moved on to the meanings we have now. It offers clarity. When you call a character or a setting austere, you're stripping away the decorations to reveal the bones beneath. The gold standard for the austere life, or one of them, is the medieval Catholic monk, specifically those of the Cistercian or Carthusian orders. For these men, austerity was not a punishment, but a path to the divine. This was true of all Catholic monks and monks of many other faiths as well. But the thing that set these people apart in this time were a couple of the ways they went about things. Even the architecture of their buildings was intentionally austere. Their monasteries were built with a markedly simple aesthetic. Plain stone walls, no stained glass, no ornamentation that might distract the mind from prayer. Their bodies were also austere. Their lives were defined by moral strictness. They slept on hard straw, ate simple meals, and often observed a period of great silence that could last from days to months, even years. In your own writing, you can draw from their example. An austere character like this serves as a baseline of discipline. They don't have to be someone who is sequestered away in a quiet building, but a character who observes a strict moral code, a character who seeks less while others are seeking more, or a character who believes in silence can be valuable. They're the character who can't be bribed with gold or tempted by comfort because they've trained themselves not to need those things. Their strength comes from their refusal to participate in the world's excess. They want simple things. They live simple lives. Characters who have this simple directive are so powerful because they undermine what an antagonist could do to corrupt them. You could think of an austere character as an uncorruptible character. And this might be a bit of a stretch, but often looking at it through this lens can give you a great way to understand how you can put them in awkward positions. Because in a narrative, an austere character is often your moral anchor. They lack distractions. Their intent is usually terrifyingly clear. They know exactly what they want, exactly what they're doing, and exactly how to live their lives. Think of a character who lives in a room with a bed and a book, a table and a chair. They don't have personal clutter, telling the reader that their mind is likely just as uncluttered. They are stoic in their resolve, empirical in their detachment. They are simple in their wants, in their needs, and they know that material gain isn't going to help them. If this is the bodyguard character of your protagonist, we have someone who we see the simplicity of their wants, and we can get a powerful understanding of where they are going to go on their journey without ever really needing to talk about it. Because an austere character might also be silent, their words can carry more weight. Having a character who has taken a vow of silence or simply does not speak often because they think words should be spoken only when they are wise can be really powerful. Because when a person who lives in silence finally speaks, the precedent of their character ensures that everyone in the room and every reader will stop to listen. I think of the character Silent Bob from the movie Clerks, a silly, dumb comedy. But the director himself, Kevin Smith, plays a character named Silent Bob, who doesn't speak for the entire movie, until right at the end when the protagonist needs to hear something. Silent Bob is the one who says it. Silent Bob's one time of speaking changes the direction of the protagonist, because it's so odd to hear this silent character who is around the most talkative and annoying character in the entire movie finally says something profound and interesting. Everyone stops to listen. It changes the direction of the plot, and it gives us this sense of this is important because this character finally chose to speak. Those moments in narrative can be incredibly powerful and can draw the reader in without them realizing why it's so important. You can also use an austere character as a tool for contrast, particularly if you have a villain character who lives and thrives in excess. Taking an austere character and putting them next to a gold-clad tyrant, you can create a visual and moral friction without ever having a single line of dialogue to explain the difference. Describing an austere monk standing next to the king gives you a sense of two worlds, two worldviews, and two ideals at odds with one another. We get a sense of the decadence, we get a sense of the corruption without ever needing to go into great detail. Austerity works really well in characters, but it can also be a way to ground world building. If you describe a city's legal system or its architecture as austere, you're telling the reader that this is a society that values order over beauty and discipline over individual expression. The idea is that simplicity is what is valued by this society. Like the way that George R. R. Martin uses historical grit to ground his dragons, you can use the medieval monk's aesthetic to ground a high fantasy order of knights or a futuristic colony on a barren planet. When a setting is austere, every tiny detail, a single flower in that otherwise plain and unadorned stone room, a flash of emotion on a stern face, these become plot events. When everything is simple, anything that is outside of that becomes interesting and becomes important. Austerity reminds us that there is a quiet authority in simplicity. Look at your most ornate characters. What happens if you strip away their comforts? What remains when the room is empty and the fire is out? You can take this and put your character who does want, who does have excess, put them in a position where they have to live an austere life. How does it change them? Take the character who lives in the austere life and put them in a place full of decadence. How does that change them? Using austerity both as a tool for punishment and as a power of the individual mind allows us to see the difference in what it's like to have and not have. Austerity is powerful. You can use the austere archetype to find the hard, unyielding truths in your story and in your characters. You can show what it's like for someone to be silent and what difference it makes when they speak. You can draw attention to things that matter the most by simply stripping away what isn't needed. You can even use this on your prose. Stripping away fancy extra words, writing a sentence or a paragraph that is incredibly austere, drawing your reader in as the lyrical prose slips away and all of a sudden we are left with something that is barren and dry. we can get a sense of a difference, and we can draw a reader's attention. Austerity can be used in any part of your story, and what it will do is create a moment where people need to listen. If you use austerity all the time in your writing, then the flowery bit that you throw in will draw the eye. But its power is in the ability to contrast it. So use austerity, whether it's in your world building, whether it's in your characters, whether it's in the dialogue. And remember that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. I'm Timothy Vigil, and this has been Just Another Word. Happy writing.